Hi everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dan Pardo, and this is Pardo's Turn, my weekly Wednesday web series where I analyze a classic show tune from a music director's point of view, and with the help of a special guest, perhaps shed some light on what makes the gems of our musical theater canon so great. Today I am happy to introduce Cooper Grodin, best known for the national tours of Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera, where he played the title role. Regionally, he was seen at the Denver Center in Oklahoma, and as Rooster in Annie at the Paper Mill Playhouse. Currently, the two of us are doing a production of Working at ACT of Connecticut, and so today we're going to give you a sneak peek of Stephen Schwartz's folk rock classic, Fathers and Sons. The whole score of Working, with songs not only by Schwartz, but also Craig Carnelia, Mickey Grant, Mary Rodgers and Susan Birkenhead, James Taylor, and more recently Lin-Manuel Miranda, doesn't read too much as a musical theater score. Yes, it's cohesive and the songs in many cases are narrative, but the characters, so to speak, are not inventions from a librettist's mind to represent the faces of American workers. They are literally American workers, real people with monologues from and songs inspired by actual interviews compiled by Chicago-based broadcaster Studs Terkel. Therefore, the theatricality of these songs and scenes is dialed down. The choreography is more pedestrian and gesture-based, and the songs fall mostly into folk and pop rock idioms, with simple chords, basic song structures, and natural, off-the-radio style performances. The first line of Fathers and Sons is self-aware in that regard, saying, "I heard a lot of songs say, 'Where you going, my son?' It makes you think of tunes like Old Man by Neil Young, Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin, and Father and Son by Cat Stevens. And Schwartz's contribution fits well among them. When fully orchestrated, it's a guitar-driven song. Harmonically, it lives mostly in a minor mode, with a few major lifts giving off a bittersweet, nostalgic vibe tinged with both regret and moments of hope and pride. The only real clue that it's not a track from these 70s singer-songwriters is the dialogue break in the middle, which is a convention more suited for the stage. The verses are great, with a melody that allows you to toss off the first phrase, dig into the second with a high-octave leap, and finish up with a list that kind of cascades naturally to a close. And while a rhyme scheme is present, linking the unaccented syllable of the fairly obscure word quieted with plannin' for our kid isn't the type of rhyme that you see coming, so it reads more like prose than poetry. The chorus starts out with a fantastic hook. I was your hero then, I couldn't do no wrong as far as you were concerned. And the form ends with a pair of rhyming couplets, which expands for the second chorus by repeating bars like a pilot in a holding pattern. It's very similar to what Bob Dylan does in Mr. Tambourine Man. So here's Fathers and Sons. The tables hadn't turned, I hadn't learned how little time it takes, and everybody breaks, and daddies make mistakes. And here's Mr. Tambourine Man. Far past the frozen leaves, the haunted, frightened trees, out to the windy beach, far from twisted reach of crazy sorrow. See the similarities? All in all, Mr. Schwartz has created a beautiful and heartfelt song with perfect stylistic authenticity about the special bonds between fathers and their offspring. Hey, Cooper.
Hello, Dan.
Thanks so much for coming on. This is great. So if anyone doesn't know, we are up here in Ridgefield, Connecticut, preparing for opening week of Working at ACT of CT. And in addition to your performing on stage, you're also a very gifted pianist, and I say this as a pianist, and a songwriter. So.
Yeah, my mom threw me into piano lessons, and I really did resist it. I didn't like sitting there and learning these black dots and practicing, and it just sort of boiled over with my sister and I. We both quit. My mom, in her infinite wisdom, allowed my sister to quit, gave me 6 months off, and then walked through the front door on a sunny afternoon, which I'll never forget because the two Billy Joel books were glowing green in the sunlight.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, "Here, learn this." And what I realized was I had sort of given up on reading notes, and my ear was good enough that I could watch my teacher's fingers and know what it sounded like and figure it out. So that meant I didn't have to read music anymore. Long story short, I sort of fell in love with jazz and then realized that that's going to require discipline. I started getting pretty deep into that, at which point I realized I had to relearn how to read music. So I sort of returned to my training, and then I kind of locked myself in a practice room for years and had some great teachers. I went to a conservatory. But the songwriting was basically my way of expressing. You know, I never studied theater. I didn't study acting until I was a few years into my career in my mid-30s. So the songwriting and the piano playing and the sitting at the piano and the singing was sort of always my way of expression and creation.
Was there a certain project that thrust you into the acting scene?
Yeah, it was really simple. I was a chorus boy for the New York Philharmonic, so I had to join AGMA, which was the Classical Musicians Union. I didn't know what that was. They just told me unless you join, you can't continue to sing. Somebody whispered in my ear, you can just buy your equity card. I literally didn't know what that was. They were like, well, it's theater. You can buy your card and start to audition. So I literally bought my equity card.
Through your membership through this other
That's
union.
Right. And then basically, a friend was like, you should try music theater. You're not really a baritone. You're not really a tenor in the classical world.
Right.
You have the range, but you don't sit in either place. There's something called a barotenor music theater, and you're tall. Something will work out for you. So I just started singing for people. I got signed, and sort of fell into music theater.
Now, was theater something that you kind of always experienced as a patron as well? Or?
No, not at all. Born and raised in Manhattan, I've never been to the Statue of Liberty either. Broadway was this tourist attraction thing in Midtown that was nothing other than a traffic problem.
Right.
I didn't go to the theater at all. It wasn't on my radar. It wasn't part of my world, my life.
Were there other kind of cultural touch points that you did instead?
Live music. I saw all the bands, anywhere, clubs, a lot of basketball. Yeah.
Well, you grew up when the Knicks were good, right?
That's right. Yeah, they were good. Believe it or not, 20 years ago, they were a decent team. 25 years ago, actually. The first time I was approached to audition for Les Miserables, I have to confess, I had never heard of the show. I didn't know what it was. That's how far off the radar theater was for me.
Wow.
But I fell in love with it. It was a very formal and accessible means of expression.
So you don't have any progeny right now, but it seems like the song really speaks to you. Do you have a close relationship with your dad or with your family?
Yes, I really do. There's no way I'd be sitting here with you right now in a creative life whatsoever without my parents having complete and utter belief in whatever choice I make. I started in finance, and they said, go wander the world, figure out who you are, what you love. Go ahead, take your time. But for me, honestly, with this song and speaking about generations and mistakes and doing better, it's really actually, to tell you the truth, more about my father and his father. My grandfather was a hard-working, tough dude who couldn't read. He didn't go to school. He just was a working man in New York. I think that he was a tough guy and a loving guy and a generous guy. And I think that I got the benefits of my father wanting to provide me with anything and everything, with just unconditional love and support. So for me to tap into this in my own life, it's not actually possible. I don't have children. I can look at my brother-in-law and see his joy, and I can use things I've heard him say, like, these two boys right here, they're everything. They're my future. That's it.
Sure.
But that's what we do as actors. We don't need to have the experience directly. I heard a lot of songs say, where you going, my son? Now I know they're true. Boy, you never stop to think how fast the years run. Now they've taken you. I remember you was 3.5. Your mommy reaching there after things got quieted. We laughed at some little word you said, how tough you were to get to bed, and we planned the night away, planning for our kid. I was your hero then. I couldn't do no wrong as far as you were concerned. You thought I was the best of men. Seems to me that lately I've been thinking a lot. I think about my dad. Lots of funny things come back I thought I'd forgotten. Now they make me sad. High school and it used to be. I didn't want him hugging me and I shuddered if he did. Further back to summer nights, baseball games beneath the lights and sleeping in the car. My daddy and his kid. He was my hero then. He couldn't do no wrong as far as I was concerned. I thought he was the wisest, the strongest, best of men. The tables had turned. I had learned how little time it takes, and everybody breaks, and daddies make mistakes. You know, this may sound odd, but my kid is my imprint, you know what I mean? This is why I work. You know, every time I see a smart young guy walking by dressed real sharp, I'm looking at my kid. You know what I want? I want my kid to tell me he's not gonna be like me. I want him to look at me and say, Dad, you know, you're a nice guy, but you're a fucking dummy. Hell yeah, if you can't improve yourself, you improve your posterity, otherwise life ain't worth nothing. You might as well go back to the cave and stay there. You know, I'm sure the first caveman who went over that hill to look and see what was on the other side, he didn't go there wholly out of curiosity. He went there because he wanted to get his son out of the cave. I heard a lot of songs say, where you going, my son? Now I know they're for real. Boy, you never stop to think how fast the years run. For the things they steal. Now it seems I always knew why I do the things I do and the things I never did.
So we're working now through March 10th. Anything in the books for the rest of the year?
Nope.
Well, the life of an actor, but the life of a working actor, and it seems like you stay busy, and we're just having a great time. Come see this dude sing some Fathers and Sons, and what's your other tune? Joe, which is another really it's a really great piece working. I've known the original cast album for a while, and to see how Dan Levine, our director, and kind of who reconceived the book, has woven these interviews with some of the original monologues and all the original tunes, save a couple. It's just really beautiful. And if you like what you saw today, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe. We will see you next Wednesday on Pardo's Turn. Thanks.
I was your hero then. I couldn't do no wrong.